Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be building an authentication JWT API written entirely in Rust together. So yeah man, let's get it started. So as you can see, I already have a couple of imports already, predefined over here, which is what we're going to be using for this tutorial. And also I have global states predefined. So this is like a vector for storing the user. We're not going to be connecting to any database. Just to make the tutorial really simple and short, we're going to be using in-state memory from using vector data structures, right? So the reason why we're getting errors and ones here is because for the imports, we haven't yet used them, right? Obviously. And then over here, I'm saying that this vector should be of type user, which is going to be a struct, but we haven't yet defined the struct. It can't find the struct, so it's erroring out. So we can just fix that simply. We can start by defining our models. So yeah, we can derive what do we want? Debug, and we want clone. Yeah. Alright, so we create that user. And we say every user should have an ID of string, a username, which will also be a string, and then a password hash, right? I spelled that wrong. Which will also be of type string. Now you should see that warning should be gone. Alright. So what else? We can start by making our main function asynchronous, right? Let's do this. Alright, so normally the main functions in Rust aren't async by default. They can't be async. But with Tokyo, we can make our main function run asynchronously, right? By giving it this tag. So we can say Tokyo main. Yeah. And now it's erroring out because the async keyword is missing. So we can be like this. Yeah, so now that error is gone. So let's create our router. Right? You can say router equals router new. Then yeah, so we'll need a handler for that. Let's create a handler real quick. We can say we can give it a handler tag, right? A handler tag, and then we can make okay, so function async function. We don't even necessarily have to make it async. We can just go like async no function hello. Gosh, I cannot type today, huh? And then we can pass it a reference to a static string, right? And then we just want to return a hello universe. Then over here we can pass in that handler we just created, right? All right. And then we can create our acceptor. We say TCP listener. We create a new instance of it, and then we have to pass in a local address, right? So you can say localhost 0000. Let's say 8080, right? For 8080. We bind this, and then we await. We await it because we have to await it. This is an asynchronous process. So over here we can just say you can just print out server running on HTTP localhost 8000, right? No, it's 8080, right? And then here we can serve it up. We can say server new, and we pass in the acceptor that we created, the serve, then we pass in the router. Then of course we await this. then we should have ourselves a working server. So you can say cargo run. Right, this is just the warnings. We fix that in. Yeah, so yeah, server running on localhost 8080. So yeah, that's the basic server already written. So we can start by defining our structs, our models, right? So what do we need? We already created the user. We have to create the register request. So let me take this right here, and then I can just paste it a couple of times. We need the register request. We need login request. We need the response, login response, and then claims, right? All right. So struct, we need the register request, right? Register request, and then what else? Login request. We need the login response, and then what else? We would need the claims. Yeah, the JWT claims. All right. So let's start with the register request. So for the request, we will need to register a user. We just need the username, which is going to be of type string, and then the password too, of type string also, right? And with the login request too, I think the same thing. So I can just take this over here, yoink, boom, simple. And then did I separate this out? Login response should be just a token. Yeah, just the token will be fine. Keep things simple. And we'll need the user ID, which is a string, and the expiration, which can be a U size. All right, so just like that, we have our models already defined. We can start by creating helper functions, right? We need helper functions, so I can say utilities or helpers, right? We need help hashing the password, verifying password. We need help with creating a token and all that, right? I should probably separate this into different files, but just to make it simple, we could just do everything in the main.rs, right? So function to hash the password. Password. It should be a reference string, and then we want to return a string, which is the newly hashed password, right? Let me see. I can just duplicate this for the verified password, right? So I can just be like this. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want to create my sort and say sort string generate, and then a mutable reference, and I can pass in this, right? This just generates the sort rounds, and I can say from argon to, you can call default hash password. If we want to pass in the password, right, from the parameter, but we want to pass it as bytes. So we do that, and then we pass a reference to the sort, because we don't want to give total ownership to it. Then we want to unwrap it, and we are returning a string, so we have to convert that to a string. And then we have the hash password function written. So what do we want to do here? This is verify password. So with the verify password, actually I want to return a boolean, not a string, because I want to know whether or not the password got successfully hashed and verified or not. So I can say let let parsed. Let me think about this. I can say let parsed hash, right, equal, I can say password hash new, and then I can pass in the hash. Oh, hold on. I have to accept a couple of parameters, right? So the password and the hash password, right? Hash should be a reference string. Yeah, then I want to unwrap this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Then to say argon2 default, then has an inbuilt function verify password. So we pass in the password as bytes. Then we pass in the password hash, the parsed hash. So reference to the parsed hashed. And then I can just say is okay. Yeah, so this would return a boolean, whether true or false. Let me just take off this new line here for consistency's sake. Then we need a function to create the token, right? So to create a token, let me see, function create token, and I can pass in the user ID because we'll need that to create the JWT token. So which that should be a reference string, and yeah, so we can say let's secret, right? So this is to create a JWT token, you need a secret key, right? So we can just say my super duper secret secret key, in passing some random it has to be secure, so you could just pass in anything, and then I can say let expiration be so from UTC I want to grab the now, and then what do I want to do? Plus duration hours, right? You pass in 24 hours. You want it to expire after 24 hours. Timestamps. Then as U size, right? Then we create our claims. So we say claims that struct we created, and then the sub should be, like I said, the sub is going to be the user ID. We say toString because when we were defining the claims, we said we wanted the user ID to be a string, and the expiration should be, the expiration we just created. And that, yeah. So now we have to encode it. So we pass in the reference header, say default. All right, let's do this. Let's make it cleaner. So we can do this. Reference claims, and the key is from secret. Then we pass in the secret that we created as bytes, right? As bytes. Then we unwrap this. Unwrap. Alright, what's going on? Mismatch types. Oh, it's timestamp, not timestamps. Am I doing something wrong? Hold on. Expiration. mismatch type, expected type, usize. I have done it, it's usize, haven't I? Oh, hold on. Okay, so this should be like that. Okay, cool. With the claims, the trade claims service, it's not satisfied. Hold on, I spelled secret wrong. Alright. Why are you yelling at me? You see, the trade bound claim said they serialize. It's not satisfied. It's not satisfied. Right. So we need to do this. Serialize, deserialize, because this is how we're gonna turn it to JSON. Login response needs to be serialized, and the request needs deserialized. Register request needs to be deserialized. Okay, cool. Alright, cool. So that error is gone. So after creating the token, we need to verify the token. Let me just take this whole thing, yoink it. I paste it here. Let's see. Alright, so we need to verify the token. Verify. So with verify, I need the token, right? I need a token, and with this, I'll return a result of type string and string. So I pass in that same secret, and then I need a token data, right? Let me see. All right, you can do this. Let token data equal decode. Okay, so let's do this. Decode, right? I can just take I can say this, yeah. So I can say token, we're passing that token. I don't know, let me paste this here. I can say decoding key, right? Decoding key. From secret. Why are you not auto formatting, man? Decoding key from secret as bytes. I don't know. What do I want to see? I want to pass in validation. Validation default. Okay, I see the error. Alright, so that error is gone, but this can fail, right? This can fail, so I can go here and say map error, and say I don't want the actual error. I'll just say invalid token. Let me say this is supposed to return a string, right? So I can say to string, then return early. If actually that's error out. Then go ahead and take all this junk from here. And say okay. So returning the result, right? Token data, the claims the sub. Okay, gone. Type annotation needed. Type annotation needed. Okay, so this is supposed to turn a token data claims. Alright, cool. So far, so good. So we can create a function to extract the token. Function extract token. And get in the request. We get that from the request. And request, yeah. Okay, we have that. Alright, cool. So we want to return an option string. Let headers equal request dot headers, and then say let auth value equal headers dot get, and then you have to pass in the key, right? Dog, what is happening? All right, we want to pass in the key. The key is going to be the authorization. Return LE. Alright, and then we say the auth string, auth value dot to string the okay, and yeah, that's good. Then we say auth string, so we want to return that auth string, and we can format this. We can say strip. It should be strip prefix, yeah, strip prefix there, right? And we can map on it and say pass in a lambda and say token dot to string, because remember return an optional string. All right, cool. We have that done. So now we can get to the main point of it. We can start writing the handler, the register handler, the actual handler that is gonna register the user, right? So in Salvo, if you want to create a handler, you have to give it a handler tag, which is typically telling Salvo that this function here is a handler, and then every handler in Salvo must be async. That's how it works. So you can say register, we pass in the request, pass in the response, mutable response. Okay, I don't want to return anything, so I can just duplicate this. Okay. Come here. Let's call this the login. All right. So what do you want to do? We want to get the JSON data. So I can say let data. Let me type it. Let me say register request, and then we want to match on the request dot parse JSON. It should be parse JSON. All right. Then we await it. And we say if everything was okay and we actually have a data, we can just return that data. And if there was an error, let's not even display that error. You could just you can say you can return a status code, and then what should I call it? Status code. We can just say bad request, right? Bad request. That should do. And then we wanna render. You can say invalid JSON, right? And you can just return. Yeah. All right. So we want to check if the username exists, right? We can say let mutable users equal, then from our global state that we created, right, we can just say lock unwrap, right? We grab the users, and then we say if users dot iter dot any. So if any user, right, so we can just do this. We can say u dot username if it equals data dot username, right? So if it does equal the username that we're getting from data, right, meaning that the user already exists, so we can just return a status code and say status code conflicts, right, conflicts, and we can render username taken, right, then we can return, right. But if you are out of this check, we know that, okay, yes, the user doesn't exist, so we can just create the user, right? We can create the user UUID. What do we want? Okay, yeah, there's it right here. New v4 2-string, right? We said we want the ID to be a string, so we say username should be the data.username. You know, then the password, you can hash the password, right? You can hash the password, and then data dot password. Okay. Now, after creating the user, we can now save that user in the database, and which it's not a database. It's just it's just the vector we created, right? I'm not really connecting to any database. Maybe I can do a part 2 where we actually, connect this to like a CORM database using Postgres. Let's see. So status code, you can say created as 201, and I want to render user registered. Alright, cool. So what else? Why am I getting an error here? Cannot borrow. Hold on. We need to make this a mutable reference. Sorry. What am I doing? Okay, so yeah, that error is gone. Cool. Alright, so for login is just basically gonna be almost the same. You get the request, the response. So now we say, let's get our data. I can just take what we did over here. It's mostly gonna be the same. Let's see. We can say okay, so over here, this is going to be of type login request, and then we match on the pass JSON from the request we awaited, and then if everything is okay, we return that data. If not, we can say bad request, invalid JSON. Cool. So we want to find the user. All right, so we can I can just do this, right? I can say let user match. I'm say users dot iter dot find, right? Dot find any user. Let me see. Yeah, should be all right. Find any user, blah blah blah. Okay, so let's do this. We can put this in a none, right? Hold on. We can say right? Then we come in and say if there is some user, then we just return that user. If none, wait. Alright, and we can terminate this with a semicolon. Alright, cool. Looking good already. So we can check that password. So that's when this verify password comes in play. We can say if hold on, let me see what we're returning from verify. Okay, we're returning a boolean. Alright, so I can be like this. I can say verify password. We pass in a reference to data.password, and then you can get the user's hash password from user.password hash, right? So status code can be unauthorized. And I can say res.render invalid credentials, and I can return nothing. Alright, so when the user passes this block, we know that okay, yeah, the verified password was actually successful. We can now send a token. Say let token equal create token. Then we can pass in reference to the user the ID, and we can say you can render, and then JSON login response, and you can say token. Yeah, it should be good. Alright, so no errors, and now we can create our login function. So the login, actually, let me just take this here. Wait, cannot borrow. Oh, I did the same mistake here. So mutable request. Alright, cool. I can take this for logout. Alright, and then call this logout. Yeah. So what do I want to do? Let's do the same thing we did for login. I can take this because it's gonna be the same format, right? I can say I can paste it here, right? So we wanna get the token. Right, we wanna get the token, and we can say match. Hold on. You can say match. I'm a very lazy programmer, so like I mostly like to, I don't like rewriting the same things. I just like to copy it and just modify. Right. So I can just say T for token. There is a token, just return that token. If not, I can say unauthorized. And say invalid or missing token. Alright, cool. And then what do we want to do when we get that token? You can as you can see, that mutable blacklist .lock .unwrap, and we can say blacklist .push. Because we want to keep we want to keep track of the tokens, right? The reason I'm doing this is because So when we create a token is valid for 24 hours, right? Before it's gonna be used again. So after the user logs out, if somebody gets that token, because anytime you log in, you're given a token, right? So if a user logs out and then he logs in again, he's given a different token. So that means the previous token can still be used. You understand, right? So we have to keep track of the tokens. So we know that, okay, if the user is logging in, if that token exists in the blacklist vector, then it's that token shouldn't be able to log in, right? So that's like the main reason behind that. So we can render and say logged out. Now everything should be clear. What else do I want to do? Yeah, that's basically it, man. That's basically it. So we just have to create the new routers, right? So we can push new routes, and we can say router. We can give it a path. This will be register, right? Register, and we can say post, because when you're registering, it's a post request, right? And I can just pass in that function, that handler we wrote. Yeah, then I can just copy this and paste it a couple of times. So we want the login and log out. This is login. And pass in login. Right? What am I doing now? And this is log out. Log out. They're all going to be post requests. Yeah, man. Yeah, I have to terminate this with a semicolon. Alright, so no errors except for warnings. Where are those warnings coming from? Oh, here. Variable does not have to be mutable. Right. Because we're not modifying it, right? You do not have to be mutable. Just one warning left. Let me see if I can find it. Verify token is never used. Verify token is never used. I thought we used verify token. Where did we use it? In login. Oh yeah. We actually didn't use verify token, which is fine. You know. Yeah. So we can test stuff. I already prepared test for it, right? So we can get the server running. Cargo run. I don't like it. We're getting warnings. We could just look. Let's just take off that verify token. Yeah. Where did I put it? Verify token. You don't even need it. You don't need you. Get out of here. Hold on. What's happening? All right. Cool. Cargo run. Decoding token data. We didn't use that. Okay. Let's just. Hold on. But how come you didn't tell me I wasn't using it? You know what? Let's just forget it. Man. Let's just forget it. Let me run the server in another terminal so we can test it. Is it Auth API? Okay, so we have cargo running here, so I can test the data. Yeah, let's see. Oh, right. I had the port wrong. It was running on port 8080, I believe. 8080. Okay, cool. So we have a user created successfully. I can say 8080. Okay, so when we log in, it's supposed to return the token. So I can be like, okay, echo. I can say echo token, and token. That's how we called it, right? All right. So we do have the token here. Then, yeah. So basically, this is just a simple Auth API, Auth JWT API written in Rust. And I'm gonna leave a link to the full source code on my GitHub if you want to check it out. If you have any problems, you can just check it out, and yeah. Make sure to like, comment, whatever, man. It helps the algorithm. And then see you guys in another video. Peace out.